welcome to UCLA. You guys made it. You are among a group of very few selected students who actually are coming to UCLA from many that requested admission. Am I on? My microphone? Yeah. Okay, good. My name is Miguel Garcia Garibay. I am the Dean of Physical Sciences. I'm also a professor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. I have you know that I have a research group of students like yourselves and grad students who do research in the field of smart materials and artificial molecular machines. And I feel proud to be part of this amazing institution where there is just so much intellectual power and just so many bright and very nice people. Today I am joined by Physical Sciences faculty who are sitting here with you. Physical Sciences alumni that represent all of our departments. We are also joined by several midstream graduate students who are eager to help you succeed. They are learning assistants who will be working with you primarily on lower division courses. You will recognize this because they're wearing the Physical Sciences t-shirt, of which you will get one shortly. So today we have faculty, alumni, and students from the departments of Atmospheric and Oceanic Sciences, Chemistry and Biochemistry, Earth, Planetary and Space Sciences, Mathematics, Physics and Astronomy, and Statistics. Yeah! I like that. The important thing is that we are all here to welcome you as one of us. You belong in UCLA, and we're really proud to have you, to count you among one of the people who bring science forward at UCLA. So physical science is one of the most exciting and productive areas of UCLA, as I just said. Among our faculty and students are courageous pioneers, daring explorers, hardworking doers, all asking, what if? That's our motto. We are happy to have you join this legacy. You will see on the slide that not only has UCLA recently been ranked #1 public university in the United States, both the Wall Street Journals, US News and World Report, and many other ranking organizations really rank UCLA very highly. There's a ranking note listed there that I really like. If you Google the employability rankings, UCLA ranks in the #2, #3, along with some other good universities such as Stanford, MIT, Harvard, and Caltech. Right up there. Physical sciences has been home to some of the most lauded scientists in the world, including 6 out of 7 UCLA faculty who have been awarded the Nobel Prize, and 3 out of 7 UCLA alumni who are also Nobel laureates. Other professors you may take courses with during your time as undergraduates in physical sciences were awarded prestigious Sloan Fellowships this year. These are given to the rising stars of their disciplines. Our division not only excels in research, it also leads the way when it comes to teaching. Chemistry and biochemistry professor Neil Garg, who many of you may have as an organic chemistry professor, was awarded the country's highest teaching honor this year. Today is about congratulating you for your accomplishments and sharing some thoughts that will help you make the most of your time and education here at UCLA. We firmly believe that you can succeed, and it is our goal to provide you with the resources and support necessary for that success. That's really what we're here for. When you RSVP'd, many of you took the opportunity to submit excellent questions about how to succeed in the physical sciences at UCLA. One of the most common questions was, how do I get involved in research? Well, this is a fantastic question, since participating in research as an undergraduate may be the best way there is to immerse yourself in your field of interest while developing skills in collaborative learning and critical thinking. For those of you considering graduate school, and undergraduate research will also be an incredible way to prepare yourselves for the rigors of graduate study. UCLA is one of the top research institutions in the world, and there are many opportunities for undergraduates to participate in scientific research. For example, more than 250 undergraduate students from a variety of sciences and engineering contributed to the development of ELFIN, the first CubeSat satellite built entirely here at UCLA. It was successfully launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base on September 15, just about 2 weeks ago. And as we speak here today, it is in orbit, sending signals back to mission base, that is our mission control, that is right here at UCLA, where these students are actually collecting the data and analyzing the data. So it's just mind-boggling. Like that, there are many other opportunities. In fact, later this year, we will be presenting a research-focused event to give you even more suggestions on how to begin exploring research in the physical sciences. So please, keep an eye on that. So sometime in the spring, we will have this event. You will be invited, and we will have faculty tell you about the very exciting research. For now, I would recommend, don't be afraid to engage your professors in discussions about the research. Most of them really, really love to talk with their students about the research. So, take those opportunities. In addition, I strongly suggest that you visit the Undergraduate Research Center website for information about how and why to get involved in research. You can see that on the screen. So soon, our panelists will take the stage. After the presentations, they, along with faculty and fellow students, will join you across the hall for a reception, where you will have an opportunity to get one another, and also know the faculty. You will notice that in your folder you have actually a sticker, and we would recommend that you write your name on it so that you can interact with your fellow students and know who you're talking to. Right. At the reception, every one of you will receive a very nice physical sciences t-shirt. We hope that you will wear it proudly. I would like to mention, this is actually rather important, that this gives another special events that we are able to organize for you in the physical sciences are made possible by gifts from alumni who want you to have a great experience here at UCLA and to feel part of a vibrant physical sciences community. One example among many is Manny Baumik. Like some of you, he came to UCLA from another country and found a home here. When Manny arrived to UCLA, he said he thought he died and had gone to heaven. Because, he said, at UCLA, everyone was treated equally, no matter what their background was. And that's true. You are here because you're an accomplished, intelligent individual. And so, we value who you are, and we are sure that you will be successful here. Manny studied physics and went on to become an eminent scientist who played a key role in the development of laser technology that made LASIK eye surgery possible. So Manny has become a really strong supporter of the physical sciences, and you can see many of the things that he has done for us. At a time when funding for science by the state and the federal government is continuously declining, support by Manny and many other alumni are absolutely essential for us to be able to do what we do. Physical sciences graduates become successful professionals in a wide range of industry, and many of them continue a strong relationship with UCLA. We have many alumni benefactors. Many of our alumni are very generous with their time and come back for events like this. In fact, 6 of them are in attendance today, and you can find information about them in your program. I recommend that you listen carefully to what our panelists have to say and think about 1 or 2 ways in which the remarks resonate with you, with your own background and experiences. Following the panel discussion, we'll invite you to participate in a very brief writing activity in which you will briefly reflect on what you've heard here from the panel. So if you submit your response to our email address, you'll have a chance to win one of 3 $50 gift cards from the UCLA bookstore. So please do that. Now, I will briefly welcome each of our alumni by calling their names and asking them to come to the stage as I do so. First, we have Stephen Dumas, who received his Bachelor in Science from Earth, Planetary, and Space Sciences in 1978. And also a DDS from UCLA in 1980. Next, we welcome Carmen Mercado, who received her Bachelor of Science in Applied Mathematics in 1997. Tiffany Mescat, who received his Bachelor's in Science in Physics and Astronomy in 2009. Next, we have Tanya Petrosian, who received her Bachelor's in Science in Biochemistry in 2005 and her PhD in Biochemistry in 2010. Next, we have Jose Rodriguez, who received her Bachelor's in Science in Physics and Astronomy in 2007, his PhD in Molecular Biology in 2012, and he is currently an assistant professor in chemistry and biochemistry here at UCLA. Finally, I didn't skip David Gonzalez. In fact, David Gonzalez received his Bachelor's in Science in Chemistry in 2012 and is currently a PhD student in Atmospheric and Oceanic Sciences. David will ask each of our panelists a question addressing values and experiences that were important for their success at UCLA and beyond. Let's give a hand to David.
Okay, can y'all hear me okay? Yes, sir. All right, thank you, Miguel. Before we get started, I'm a little bit curious about the audience. So how about we get a raise of hands if you're an incoming freshman? Wow, okay, that's a whole bunch of you. How about a transfer student? Yeah, all right, good showing. I was a transfer student too. Anybody from Moorpark? All right, we got one guy, two in the back. All right. Finally, how many of you are first-generation college students? Yeah. All right. Excellent. Thank you, and welcome again to UCLA. You should all be very proud that you made it as a physical science student at one of the most elite universities in the world. No doubt this is going to be a challenging experience, but it's going to be rewarding. So we want to help. And in this spirit, we've invited alumni to talk about what it's like starting out as a physical science student here at UCLA. And hopefully you'll realize that some of the many challenges you're going to face or encounter, you're not alone in. So let's start with a poll about some common challenges amongst the panelists. So panelists, raise your hand if you've ever changed a major. Okay. How about dropped a class? All right. That was me too. How about struggled in a class? Yeah, same. Okay, here's a really good one. Failed an exam. All right, yeah, it happens. So as you can see, these very successful alumni from different walks of life had some common challenges and a challenging experience. So let's find out more about these experiences. I'll begin to ask panelists questions, and I'll remind the panelists to keep your responses to about 2 minutes. So first, we're going to talk about how the panelists' values help them. So first question is for Jose. A lot of first years or transfer students here may feel far from their family or community. Jose, can you speak how family and community played a role in your success as a physical scientist?
That on? No.
Thank you. All right, much better. So, like a lot of other first-generation students, family was really important to me. And I was deciding between various different colleges when I was trying to come to UCLA. They'll go unnamed, but some of them are in California, some of them in the Bay Area. And it was important for me to stay close to my family, so I stayed at UCLA. My family was not sort of walking distance there in South Long Beach, but it made it easy for me to go home every other weekend and check in on my siblings or see my parents and get a home-cooked meal. And that was great. But really, as I progressed through the first and second year at UCLA, I realized that I have a family here. I had a lot of friends. I had friends who were professors as well, who really looked after me. And I actually found a home in one of the labs on campus, and I started doing research. And that really excited and motivated me. And I think that really shaped the way my career turned out. So don't be afraid to try to find a family here at UCLA and find your niche, wherever that may be, whether it's in research, in sports, and other activities, and find something you love and are passionate about. And I think that will build a community for you around that.
All right, amen. It seems that your family and community supported you a lot through your studies and through your career. I can relate. Both of us come from Mexican households with cultures of very close-knit families. I know for me, siblings, and especially my mom, were a huge source of emotional support, but also a little bit of tough love, which always helps. And just to be blunt, I'll say there's not a whole lot of Latinos in science, and there's certainly a need for outreach to underrepresented groups. So another question for Jose is, do you ever find ways to give back?
Yeah, all the time. So first of all, if anybody ever wants to come talk to me about almost anything and about finding a place at UCLA, I am happy to talk to you at any time. I had a huge support network here, and because of that, I feel like it's important to keep that support network alive and growing. So I'm involved in a lot of activities on campus that promote diversity, that also promote inclusion of everybody on campus. One of those is actually a chemistry-born organization. So it's called OCDS. If you're in chemistry and you're an undergraduate, you should go there. The Undergraduate Research Center also has a lot of groups that are involved in promoting diversity in science and in research. You should seek them out. And like that, there are dozens of groups and activities that happen across campus all the time. On any given weekend, you'll find some activity ongoing. So don't be afraid to reach out and go to all the websites that are listed under the URC and across the Physical Sciences website that are there for you to find a community.
Awesome, thank you, Jose. So your values of family and community, social responsibility helped put your experience in perspective for us. And having perspective is an important thing both from a scientific and personal level. So my next question is for Tiffany. Why is perspective important to you both on a scientific and personal level?
Yeah, thank you. So when I was here at UCLA, I was still trying to decide who I wanted to be and what kind of career I wanted to do. I came in as a math major, and then I eventually switched to my true passion, which is astrophysics. And I think this all came from having a sense of perspective about the world and understanding our place in the universe and feeling, in that sense, the amazingness of where we are in the universe and how small we are, and yet we can learn things about it. And that was just an incredible experience here to take those classes and learn from professors here and do research as well. And I think this was mentioned earlier that absolutely you should speak to a professor about their research and ask if you can work with them, because I'm sure that they will be very passionate about it and will want you to be involved. And I would say from a personal level, perspective is also very important to me in the sense that being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, right, and to see that not everyone has the same background, not everyone has the same experiences, and so being able to understand the challenges that other people face and understanding your own the benefits that you've had in your life, how that helps you, and how you can reach out and help other people who might be struggling in some of their courses or with personal issues. So I highly encourage people to think about have perspective about your life, but also with the universe.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for putting that in perspective. It's a dad joke. Yeah. So at UCLA, you're going to find people with varying perspectives, and you'll find that individual values motivate people in different ways. For many, their faith and their allegiance to their country are at the very core of what they do. So my next question is for Carmen. Could you touch on the importance of faith and patriotism during your academic journey?
Wow, that's a good one. Faith, that was something that helped me so much in school. I believe in God, and I would pray constantly, especially before the midterms, before the exams. Like, oh my God. It was powerful, and it helped me so much because it relaxed me, because I know I'm not in charge. I know there's a higher power, and he knows what he's doing. So if I'm going to pass this class, I'm going to pass this class. You know, I have no control. It's just God, and I just let it go. And the patriotism, I love my country. I fought for my country. I was in the service of 4 years, and I did the ROTC as well. I did it for 2 years, or was it 1 year? And then some other issues came up, and I just said I wanted to be peace and love, so I ended up ending it. I didn't complete the ROTC, but it helped me. It motivated me. It motivated me that 1 year that I attended at the ROTC. It encouraged me to be a leader. It helped me in understanding a lot of the stuff that was the same thing around me. You know, being part of a group. It was so nice to have that camaraderie with the other cadets as well, and encouraged me to do better, improve, and overall just helped me encourage to graduate and be who I am now.
Yeah, thank you. And I'd imagine that it also taught you a great deal of discipline.
Oh, yes, definitely.
A very important trait if you're going to be a scientist is discipline. So thank you, and thank you for your service. So many people build personal relationships based on their common values, but having perspective can help us understand others. This is important because it helps us develop a sense of belonging. A sense of belonging is crucial for both personal and professional development. So Tanya, could you touch on the importance of building personal relationships and networking?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, currently in my job, I'm actually CEO of a company that we're developing the first therapeutic for a disease called endometriosis, and we're actually taking a non-hormonal approach. And so originally you would think that that would, require a small lab and a really bright team of people, and we just lock ourselves in a lab and, try to come up with a therapeutic and, bring it out to the world. But it's not like that at all, and that's what I've learned. And I think a lot of what I learned is because of my time at UCLA here, in that, one person alone cannot navigate an entire journey. And so, similar to you here at UCLA, I think it's really, really important to realize that, every person that you come across here can add value into your life. Even the person that's sitting next to you right now can end up being your best friend or might end up being your lab partner. Who knows, And it's pretty neat because, I think us as physical science majors, we might be a little bit introverted. We might be in this because we don't want to talk to people. Right? We want to work on mechanical things, but at the end of the day, the reason why we're working on these mechanical things is to help people. Medicine is to help the health of people. Working on rocket ships or working on cars, it's to help people get around. Even working on those scooters, right, is to help getting people around. So, at the end of the day, I challenge you to think that the most complicated organisms that you're going to learn at UCLA is actually people. And when you work together with people and when you work together with your TAs or your professors, you end up that your experience a lot more rich here. And then when you're looking to get a job or you're looking to go to graduate school, you're able to get a letter of rec from someone, right? Quite easily because you've gone to office hours. And by the way, that's my hint to everyone. Make sure you go to office hours, both TA and professor office hours, because once you do need that letter of rec for whatever you're going to do when you leave UCLA, it's going to be really easy for you to do versus maybe some of your friends 4th year realize they're applying to graduate school and oh shoot, no one's going to remember me, right? So just again, build those personal relationships, and I think it'll make your experience a lot more worthwhile here.
Thank you. That's really important. As someone who researches as a graduate student in the lab and TAs, it's really important to get to know your professors and TAs. I've had students that ended up being my research assistants, and we given them letters of rec, and now they're working at places like Amgen and UCLA grad students, things like that. So super important. Thank you. So a lot of the times you'll find that various clubs at UCLA can foster both personal and professional networks. Tiffany, you were in the Undergraduate Astronomical Society as an undergrad. Could you talk more about how this impacted you personally and academically?
Absolutely. This was the most incredible scientific and social club for me. So when I first arrived at UCLA in the dorms, I found that it was incredibly social and very fun. My floor was great. It was Hedrick 5 South. No? Okay. Yeah, pass out. And and it was great. But a lot of the people on my floor were not in the physical sciences, and I felt that they had more free time because they had maybe fewer classes, or I found that a lot of the work that I was doing required a lot of homework and a lot of time, and going to office hours, going to get the help from the TAs. So while that was an amazing experience, I also found this other group of people who were really like-minded, and this is the Undergraduate Astronomical Society. We all had similar interests and would run sky shows every Wednesday on the roof of the math building for the public. And that was incredibly, just so fun to become friends with these people. These are all still lifelong friends of mine, which is incredible to me. Something as simple as just a club, right? Just attending a club that you maybe go to because there's free pizza ends up genuinely changing your life. The people that you meet, people in that club got married since then, have children. It's incredible. These are the decisions that affect your life, and I highly recommend that you try out some clubs and see what fits well. Find your people, and that's what I found with the Undergraduate Astronomical Society.
Awesome, thank you. So support groups, incredibly important. But at a place like UCLA, you're going to interact with people from all different cultures, ethnicities, walks of life. And if you come from a different place or a different culture, it's very common to feel out of place. But a lot can be learned by becoming familiar with other people's backgrounds and cultures. So Tanya, you mentioned that you felt a culture shock when you arrived to UCLA. How did you overcome that, and does it benefit you today?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people don't know this, but I'm actually Armenian, and it was my first language. I did not speak English until I went to school here. I was in ESL until 8th grade, and I don't actually share this with a lot of people, but in high school I even had a hard time reading out loud still. So I had a huge journey when I was trying to when I got into UCLA, and being exposed to so many different cultures. And the Armenian culture tends to be quite tight-knit and small, and especially since that's the primary language of my family, it's just what I'm used to. So when I came to UCLA, and especially my roommate, for instance, was from Modesto. She's American, and there was some different culture shocks. I remember the biggest one was, at least in my culture, when someone walks in a room, you say hi. You kind of get up and you greet them and say hi. Well, she didn't adhere to that. So in my opinion, I thought she was snubbing me. And I had a huge passive-aggressive war with her for about 2 months, where she would walk in the room and I said, I'm not going to smile and say hi to her. And finally, when I opened up to some of my lab mates, they were like, it's cool, she's probably reading, or something else. So it was a big shock to get over that. But I think the way I got over it was, first and foremost, I did embrace my roots. I actually took Armenian 101, which I almost failed. It's the hardest class. It was my only pass or non-pass because I thought I was going to fail. But secondly, I started taking classes in other cultures. So I embraced some of your electives to just go wild and try some fun things. I took Asian ethnomusicology, and that was so much fun to learn about the different instruments. I mean, we had to go to concerts that were Korean drum concerts, and it's so fun. And now in my job, when I meet someone that's Korean, I talk to them about the drums and if they ever played it, and it's pretty neat. I mean, you wouldn't think an Armenian girl would know about Korean drumming, right? I even took French, even though I took it in high school. My professor was from Iowa, so I don't think my French accent was the best coming out of high school. And my TA was, from Paris, and it was amazing, So I really think it's important to understand different cultures, definitely get in touch with your own roots, but just go outside and, learn a little bit about other cultures. And I think now, again, with the personal relationships that I'm talking about, there's just no way I can operate in my job without being able to talk to people and understand what makes them tick, how they're different minded than I am, and how we can motivate each other.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. Very, very important to understand your team and how to motivate your team, and often understanding their backgrounds can really help out with that. So earlier we polled the panelists about changing a major. Changing a major is one of those things that can really shake up your sense of belonging. Jose, you had an experience changing your major. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I did. So I started as a pure math major, which was really exciting, and I loved math coming into UCLA. And after a year into it, I got really excited about applied math. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to do some applied math, take some applied math classes, and that sort of was opening Pandora's box. Because then I got to talk to physicists and chemists, and I was like, wow, I really like maybe going beyond applied math and trying some experiments. I'm going to try out some of the things that I'm proposing to do. And so I got involved in doing experiments in the physics department, and very quickly, through the inspiration of one of my professors, decided to switch completely to doing experimental science in biophysics. And so that really set me on a course to doing experiments for a job. And I went from working at the gym, which was just sort of my side job, to working in a lab and getting paid for it, which was really great because I got to learn, and it was a nice job on campus. And as I got more and more passionate about the stuff that I was doing, I realized that if I could do experiments for the rest of my life, I would be really happy. And so that's what I do now. And that was how I became sort of a professor in a nutshell. I got really excited about doing things hands-on, and I haven't stopped since.
So would you say changing your major was a good decision?
Oh, yes. Definitely. Nothing against math. I still love math. I still read about math, and it still excites me, but not in the same way as doing experiments.
Thanks. So it's important to find out what you're passionate about to build this sense of belonging. But what if you're in a field that there's not a whole lot of people like you? I mean, to this day, I'm the only Mexican American in my graduate department. It can get intimidating. Carmen, you learned how to program during a time when programming was male-dominated. Did you have challenges finding a sense of belonging here, and did you ever feel like an imposter?
Well, I was very fortunate. There was always one woman there. So I clinged to her, and I learned from her and how to deal with a male-dominated environment, and that was so helpful. She was like my mentor as well. She had, I think it was over 20 years of programming. So I just the fact that I was able to bond with her and able to deal with other programmers, I mean, they were welcoming as well. I mean, they were helpful. They were, if I was stuck, if I needed some help, they were approachable to males, approachable, and they were also as mentors, but mostly I clung to her, and I've been very fortunate that most of my jobs have always had one other woman. So I wasn't all completely alone, except for my last one. I was somewhat completely alone, but I was able to cope with it, you know, because I had been in this field for so many years, being around men, that and then also in the service, the fact that I was in the Army and it's all male as well, so that helped me deal with working in an environment with men and being able to cope with them and do my job. That's all I needed to do my best, I mean, have some confidence and pray. That was one thing I did a lot too, praying about it, so that helped me so much in succeeding and being able to deal with my environment.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing that you had that experience. And I just want to point out there's this term that you will hear throughout your undergrad experience called imposter syndrome. And everybody here will probably experience, everybody up here has definitely experienced it. The definition is, it's a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. So no doubt you're gonna feel this at one point. Maybe you didn't get the grade you wanted on the exam. Maybe you're struggling in a class and you feel like you're not cut out to be at UCLA, but persistence is key. So panelists, with all these challenges you've faced, it sounds like you've all experienced a lot of growth and transformation throughout your time. Many of you are making it clear that your path is not always linear and filled with challenges along the way. So let's talk about growth and transformation. Tiffany, in graduate school, you had to give a lot of presentations, right? Did these ever make you nervous? And were you always, how did you get better at them? Were you always good at them?
So I actually did speech and debate in high school, and I thought that was enough to be able to give, professional, astronomy talks and lectures. And it turns out that's not enough for me because when it's actually technical, you get nervous. You're in an audience full of colleagues, but also people who are more senior than you, who know more than you. And I was especially nervous during the question session at the end of presentations at conferences when someone might ask you a question you don't know the answer. and so I was very terrified for at least the first 2 years of my grad school. Basically the way I got through it, I had a very supportive advisor who encouraged me, just keep giving talks, just keep doing it. Don't quit, even if you're nervous when you do it. And I did, and I got to become very comfortable with it, and I know how to answer questions now when I don't know the answer. This is a skill that you learn. And it has to do with confidence, and also, it has to do with imposter syndrome, genuinely. If you feel that you don't belong there, you will feel, nervous. But I think it's important to recognize that, people, you are in this room for a reason because you are very skilled, and, you deserve to be here at UCLA. And if someone invites you to give a talk, you should accept it and feel that you deserve to give it and be confident with your abilities. And so I did manage to overcome that, but that was definitely a challenge for me at the start.
Thanks, Tiffany. Yeah, presentations are tough, and getting the work done and organizing the presentations just half the battle, because then the next part is you have to speak in front of the public, and that's one of the most common fears, right? Fear of public speaking. So Tanya, you do quite a bit of public speaking as well. Were you always good at this, or is this a skill you had to develop?
Yeah, I was terrible at speaking in public. As I shared with you guys, I could barely read out loud. So take it one step further and stand in front of people and speak. It's just, there's no way. And moreover, especially when I was your guys' age, I had a very dogmatic reason why one shouldn't need to public speak. I mean, if you have the right answer, then what does it matter if I tell you if it's the right answer or not? I know it's the right answer. And I was such a disaster. In multivariable calculus, I would write the right answer and not even write out my work. And the TAs would dig me because I didn't write out the work, and I'd go in there and I'd say, what does it matter? I got to it, right? So I was really dogmatic about this. But then, as I matured a little bit, I realized that it's important to obviously work together with people, and innovation cannot happen if you don't understand what the people before you have done, and for the people after you to understand what you've done. And that's all about what science is. I mean, what's Newton's quote? He stood on the shoulder of great giants, right? So because of that, then I finally succumbed to the fact that we do need to be able to be good at public speaking. And the way I overcome this fear was I actually volunteered at the UCLA to be a UCLA tour guide. And so that was fun because it wasn't technical, and you can ad lib, which I think is really, I think there's two different skills. One, to stay to a script, which they do make you stay to a script. Another one, just to have fun and ad lib. So, you go around campus and, you point to different buildings and say the fun stories, and you have many different audiences. You've got third graders, you've got transfer students, and you've got everything in between. And then you deal with challenging situations. I had a bunch of third graders I had to give a tour for, and as you know, it's an open campus. Well, it was raining that day. So what do? And then you deal with the challenges. I took them to the the geology building and told them that they were going to see a real T-Rex skull. And by the way, it's completely fake. So they pointed to me and said, liar, liar. And it's like, how do you get out of this situation, right? So since then, I don't think there's been a graduate talk that was worse than a bunch of third graders pointing at me, calling me a liar. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience. And so, I definitely encourage you, if you're not great at public speaking, you don't have to, you can definitely sign up for technical talks, but for me, that would have been way too intimidating. So you can start at something a little more fun.
Yeah, great advice, great story. Public speaking is always nerve-wracking. So, not that I'm nervous or anything. Carmen, you had quite the incredible and well-rounded path during and after your education at UCLA. This included UCLA marching band, programming, and military service. How did these impact your growth as a professional?
The service helped me, like you said, mentioned earlier, be disciplined, be on time, do my work, and just focus. You know, that was something that we learned there. And then also the fact that being in the marching band, that was just amazing that to have so many young people around you. Because I was a transfer student and I was much older, well, a couple of years older than most of the kids. And it was nice that bonding, that environment in the marching band, it helped me to deal with other people as well. You know, being in the Army, kind of the same thing, being around different cultures. I mean, a lot of us have talked about, or a lot of you have talked about being around different cultures and different experiences. And also that happened in the marching band. There were different personalities. You know, there were seniors, there were juniors, there were freshmen. And just being understanding and being compassionate to each other. I think I learned that a lot at the marching band. And the programming, that was a challenge because every job that the last few years that I've been programming, there's always been a layoff. So I was getting disappointed. I was like, oh my gosh, am I in the right field or not? You know, it was difficult at first because every 4 years I was getting laid off. Okay, sorry, we're gonna outsource or we're gonna send work somewhere else, so we gotta let you go. So I finally realized my third job, how passionate I was about programming. And again, I was laid off and I said, okay, I'm gonna go back into, I was a business system analyst. I wasn't programming anymore in my third career, or my third job, excuse me. So I came back into programming and I think I needed that break because it opened my eyes again. I was in love with programming again. And that's what I'm currently doing. It's not in corporate America anymore. It's for non-for-profit. And it's wonderful. It's amazing how different it is. And I enjoy it. I'm not as wondering, oh my gosh, am I going to get laid off again? Am I going to get laid off? It's already been almost 7 years. It's been the longest since I've been in one place in my same career. So that had helped me deal with so many things in life and overall to be a better person and understand. So I think that's it.
Thanks, Carmen. Don't you have a great story? It's pretty cool stuff. So, as you can see, just because you're on a certain path or you have a certain major right now, it doesn't mean you can't explore, possibilities going forward. You might end up in a field that you never thought you were going to end up in at the start of your physical sciences education. A great example of this is our panelist, Steve. So you've had an interesting path. You were a geology major, and now you're a dentist. There's some overlap, by the way. He was telling me about it earlier. Can you share more details about that process, that transformation of geologist to dentist?
Okay. My path through UCLA could best be described as a pinball. The only thing I knew that I wanted to do was graduate. And I picked geology at the time because I liked backpacking. I'd been in the Boy Scouts. I liked being outdoors. With this major, I could backpack and get a degree. For me, that was heaven. What I didn't think about was employment afterwards. And I was here, and you hear about the unemployment issue of college grads and all that. That isn't new. When I graduated in 1976, that was one of the worst years for employment for undergraduates coming out of school. And if it didn't happen in 1991, didn't happen. But anyway, there was a thing called the oil embargo that hit. And because of the oil embargo, you would have thought that would have opened up a lot of jobs for geologists in petroleum development. It didn't. So I'm looking at, okay, I've got to now get a master's degree or PhD, and I'd always liked playing with dental tools and stuff. And so I decided, well, since I've already taken the prerequisites dental school, why don't I see if I can get into dental school, and if I don't, then I can stay in geology. Luckily, things happened. I got into dentistry. I don't regret going into dentistry because I've been a dentist now for 38 years. I'm looking more towards the end of my career than the beginning, but I've also been able to still have the passion of exploring, going backpacking, doing things like that I did in geology. But the nice thing about what dentistry did for me was it gave me the opportunity to have my own business, and I've met some very wonderful people, and a lot of the things that I did learn during my undergraduate time here, I was able to use very well in dental school. And one of the areas was a field called petrology, which is where you learn how to analyze the mineral structures of rocks. And you use the same thing when you're looking at the mineral structures of teeth. And field work in geology is the same as doing documentation of clinical records on a patient. So there was a lot of overlap, and I don't regret anything about changing my major, and I'm very glad that I stayed with the major because it's a talking point when people say, what was your undergraduate degree? I wasn't life science.
Wow, incredible. I think that's pretty cool. I had no idea that there was that overlap. As you noticed, many of our panelists did research as undergrads. And matter of fact, I was told that many of you are interested in getting involved in research. So how about you guys give me a yeah if you're interested in undergraduate research? Yeah! All right, that's a lot of excited undergrads in research. So I did research as an undergrad, and actually it changed my life. It put me where I'm at today. And I wanted to ask our panelists how they got involved in undergraduate research and what their experience was. So Steve, how did you get involved?
As I said, I was a pinball. I happened to be in a class called astrogeology, and because of my interest in dentistry, there was a guy that was doing work in the rock physics lab that needed someone that had some kind of coordination with his hands to put together these samples that we were doing work on. So I went down and interviewed with him, and I had a heartbeat and I could see, so I got the job. So what I did was I took rock samples from explosions and would find two parallel sides to them and put these things called transducers on it, put it inside of a container and drop it into a pressure vessel, and I would stay at UCLA at night and I would pump up the kilobar pressure in this thing, and we would send S and P waves through it, and I would write down the numbers. A machine would do what I did then. But that got me interested in, it gave me something that the classes I took, I could now apply some of those things in what I was doing with that research. And we were able to work with Chevron Oil in developing some invasive ways of predicting subterranean structure, stuff that a computer does easily. I was able to actually touch a moon rock in some of our work, so I had a great time with that, and my only regret was that I didn't do it sooner.
Cool, great. Tiffany, how did you get involved in undergrad research?
So, I think it's on. Yeah? Okay. Hi. Yes, so I got involved in my third year. Basically, a postdoc sent an email out and asked if some undergrad wanted to get involved in doing a project with them. And so I responded and said I was very interested. And it was in astronomy, and so the project involved, it was absolutely fabulous. It was the first time I ever did research. Actually involved going to the telescope, in this case the Lick Observatory. It was the first time I ever went to a telescope in a professional sense. Went to the telescope, did the observing throughout the whole night, actually ran the telescope, chose which targets to look at, looked at it, actually, also got clouded out many times, so didn't get that much data. But then the data, we brought home, and I personally was able to analyze it with assistance from this postdoc. And that was the first project that I did, and it really was just life-changing for me. I hadn't appreciated how much I would really enjoy doing research, and that project was actually searching for finding brown dwarfs, which are sort of a object which is between stars and planets. And now that inspired me to go to graduate school, and there I studied searching for planets around other stars through direct imaging by trying to actually image the planets. So a similar thing, but now even more difficult because they're smaller and fainter and very rare. And now I'm able to continue that as an astronomer at Caltech. And this was all thanks to this early experience that I had in research in a project that I was very heavily assisted by this postdoc. You know, you don't know what you're doing at the start. It's just, you just try it out and see what you enjoy. And I found it just absolutely, definitely my passion, and it has completely changed my career. It is absolutely what I do now, and it was very life-changing for me. Also, I got paid a little bit of money.
Oh yeah, that's true. You can get paid to do undergrad research. And speaking of, if you're interested in undergrad research, you can look in your folder. There is a piece of paper with a QR code on it. A week from Monday, the Organization for Cultural Diversity in Science, or OCDS, is going to be putting on our yearly fall outreach event. And in that, we're going to have 2 workshops for undergraduate students to attend. One about applying to grad school and one about getting involved into undergrad research. And there will be a panel of graduate students and there'll be faculty talks. So if you're interested in going to that, please RSVP. There's limited space. We can only accommodate 90 students. And there'll be free food and stuff like that. So if you're interested, I'd suggest RSVPing for that as soon as you can. Okay, so that concludes our panel. How about we give our panel one final round of applause?
Thank you, David. Maybe we can have our panelists take their seats. Now I would like to invite Professor Al Khoury. He's a professor in biochemistry. He's also the Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. He will come up front to explain the writing activity here for you. Please, Al.
Okay. As Miguel said, I'm a professor of biochemistry. I was a piano performance major as an undergraduate, but not here. I want to say that Steve is my dentist. He's a really great dentist. And his son is a freshman chemistry major, so Steve didn't want me to call him out, but if David's here, it's great. Not here. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so we've locked the door because you're not allowed to leave for another 5 minutes. Not really. But we would like you to sit and participate for 5 minutes in a writing activity.
Well, it looks like several of you have finished and many of you can just continue a little bit later. So what I'd like to do, just take a couple of minutes just to remind you that UCLA is a great university because you are here. And we want to make sure that we learn from you, that we have feedback from you, that we understand, what makes us better. So in case you haven't heard, I'd like to bring your attention to an exciting new way that we've come up with for gauging how our students are feeling about their UCLA experience. We feel that a strong education and a very good experience is going to lead to your success. And your success is going to lead to being a UCLA ally for the rest of your lives. So we have this cool application called Brewing Experience that you can download to your phone, and that will periodically prompt you to let you know how you're feeling. So if you feel like replying, and we encourage you that you do, you will actually get $5 just for registering the app, plus chances to win a number of prizes, including a $400 Amazon gift card. So you should give it a try. So I think, we've come to the very, very end of our program. So what I'd like to do is let's have another round of applause for our panelists and for yourselves. You are the newest members of the Division of Physical Sciences at UCLA. We want to welcome you. So now let's go to the reception and please, talk to the faculty, talk to the former students, and get to meet each other.